Okay, let's dive right in. You brought us some really interesting source material today, challenging something, well, pretty fundamental. How we look at blood pressure. For years, it's always been about watching both numbers, right? Top and bottom.
That's the standard advice, yeah.
But your sources are suggesting something, frankly, quite shocking, that after age 60, one of those numbers becomes way more important, like dramatically more predictive of serious trouble.
That's exactly right. And that's our mission for this deep dive. To really unpack why that shift happens, we're going to look at the physiology, what's actually changing in the body.
Okay.
And then, importantly, we'll go beyond just the risk factors. We're looking at strategies, actionable things you can do, drawn from, well, both modern research and some traditional wisdom, too.
From traditional Chinese medicine, yeah.
Exactly. So it's not just knowing the danger, but having a clear path to address it.
Great. So let's set the scene quickly. The two numbers. Your sources use some good analogies. Systolic, the top one.
That's the squeeze pressure. When the heart contracts, pushes blood out.
Got it. And diastolic, the bottom number.
That's the resting pressure. When the heart fills back up, the pressure remaining in the arteries between beats. Kind of the baseline tension.
Okay, squeeze and rest. Simple enough.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. Why does the whole risk picture flip, so completely after 50 or 60?
Yeah, it flips because our plumbing changes, essentially. When we're younger, both numbers often track together. High stress, both might go up. But the research, and we're talking big studies, like over 30,000 people followed over time.
Wow.
It shows really clearly. After age 50, systolic pressure, that top number, becomes the main predictor, the primary driver of cardiovascular events, heart attacks, strokes. It really takes over.
And there's a physical reason for that, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a statistical quirk. The sources mentioned arteries getting stiffer.
Exactly. That's the core mechanical reason. Think of a young, flexible artery like a new garden hose. It expands a bit with each pulse of water. But as we age, arteries naturally lose some of that elasticity. They become more rigid, like an older hose left out in the sun. Less give.
Right, makes sense. Stiffer.
So when the heart contracts and sends that pressure wave out, bam, it hits those stiff walls much harder. There's less cushioning effect.
And that forces the systolic pressure up.
Precisely. That increased impact against inflexible walls is what drives up the SBP. And this often leads to a very specific condition called isolated systolic hypertension, ISH.
ISH. Okay, so that means the top number, the squeeze pressure, is high.
Right, it goes up.
But the bottom number, the resting pressure, it actually stays normal or sometimes even drops.
You got it. That's the classic ISH pattern. And here's the thing. It's incredibly common. We're talking nearly 70% of people over 60 who have hypertension actually have this specific type.
70%. So it's basically the standard form of high blood pressure in older adults.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the dominant pattern. And that's why focusing on that high SB2 number is so crucial for you if you're in that age group.
The numbers associated with this, the actual risks, they're pretty sobering when you lay them out.
They are, but we need to face them because they tell us how seriously to take this. If your systolic pressure consistently stays above 140 after 60...
It's just 140. That used to be considered borderline, didn't it?
It did, but the understanding has evolved, especially for this age group. Above 140 systolic consistently means about a 50% higher risk of heart attack. 50%.
Okay.
And, get this, a 70% higher risk of stroke.
Wow. 70% just from that top number being elevated.
It's a massive jump, and it doesn't stop there. Even looking at just a 10-point increase in SBP after 60, that correlates with about a 15% increase in dying from cardiovascular causes. The system just doesn't tolerate that high squeeze pressure well as it ages.
But the number that really stopped me, the one you highlighted from the sources, was about that specific ISH pattern.
Ah, yes. Isolated systolic hypertension. High top, normal or low bottom.
What was the risk there?
It's staggering. Compared to someone with normal blood pressure, having ISH is linked to a 250% higher risk of stroke.
250%.
And about 180% higher risk of heart attack. It just screams danger. After 60, controlling that SBP has to be the primary goal.
Okay, that makes the systolic picture incredibly clear. But what about the diastolic, the bottom number? It sounds like it's less of a concern for being high, but you mentioned it gets tricky.
It does, because as arteries stiffen, the diastolic pressure often plateaus or even starts to drift downwards after 50 or 60. So high DBP is less common.
Right.
But a low DBP, that presents a whole different kind of risk, especially, and this is important, if you're taking medication to lower blood pressure overall.
Why is low diastolic a problem? Doesn't sound intuitive.
Well, think about how the heart muscle itself gets its blood supply. It happens during diastole, during that resting phase between beats.
Ah, okay. When it's relaxing.
Exactly. So if the diastolic pressure drops too low, say below 60, the pressure gradient might not be enough to adequately perfuse the heart muscle itself.
So the heart isn't getting enough blood flow while it's supposed to be recovering.
Precisely. Some cardiologists refer to this potential issue as coronary steal syndrome in certain contexts. It's like the heart is being slightly starved during its rest period.
That's concerning. How does traditional medicine view that pattern?
It's often seen through the lens of blood stagnation or heart key deficiency. Basically, a lack of nourishment and energy reaching the heart during that crucial recovery time.
Okay, so you could have this weird situation, high SBP hammering the arteries, and low DBP potentially starving the heart muscle. How do you even make sense of that?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's why we absolutely have to talk about pulse pressure, PP.
Pulse pressure, that's the difference between the top and bottom numbers, right?
Exactly. You just subtract the diastolic bottom from the systolic top. SBP minus DBP equals PP.
And that gap tells you what exactly?
It tells you a lot about arterial stiffness. A wider gap generally means stiffer arteries. Think about it. High squeeze pressure, SBP, and low resting pressure, DBP, equals a big difference between the two.
Okay, so a wide pulse pressure is bad news.
Very bad news, especially as we age. The research highlighted in your sources shows that a pulse pressure wider than 60 points, that alone can double your stroke risk. Double it, regardless of the individual numbers sometimes.
Wow, double the risk just from the gap being over 60.
And if that PP gets wider than 70 points, that's flagged as a major high-risk indicator for seniors. It's arguably a more potent warning sign than just looking at SBP or DBP in isolation.
So let's pull this together. What are the specific danger zone combinations people need to watch out for on their home monitor?
Okay, let's list them out clearly. We're watching for 1. Systolic pressure consistently over 150, even if the diastolic looks okay. 2. Systolic pressure hitting 160 or more. That's a red flag regardless of the diastolic. 3. That classic ISH pattern, systolic over 140 with diastolic below 70, high top, low bottom. 4. Diastolic pressure dipping below 60, especially, and I'll repeat this, if you are taking blood pressure medications. That needs discussion with your doctor.
Okay, those 4 are critical, and you mentioned high diastolic alone is rare.
Yes. Isolated diastolic hypertension, where only the bottom number is high, is pretty uncommon in folks over 60, less than 10% of cases. If you see that, it often points towards other potential underlying issues, maybe kidney problems or something else that needs investigating.
Okay, the danger is clear. It's primarily that high systolic hammering effect, often made worse by a wide pulse pressure indicating stiff arteries. So how do we tackle this using that combined approach you mentioned? The data plus the traditional wisdom.
Right, we shift from just managing numbers to thinking about restoring balance. And traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, offers a really useful framework here.
How does TCM see that high systolic pressure?
It's often interpreted as a pattern called liver yang rising. Think of it like excess energy or internal heat flaring upwards too forcefully. Yang is active, upward energy. Liver, in TCM, regulates flow. So liver yang rising is like that flow becoming too forceful too. Pushy.
Okay, like internal pressure building up and pushing outwards. Makes sense metaphorically.
Exactly. It resonates with that high squeeze pressure feeling.
And the diastolic issues. If high SBP is liver yang rising, what about problems with the bottom number?
Diastolic problems, especially that low DBP pattern, often point towards heart key deficiency. Key is vital energy. So heart key deficiency suggests the heart system lacks the energy or nourishment it needs, particularly during that rest phase.
Lack of nourishment during rest.
Okay. Or sometimes, depending on other signs, it could involve the kidney system, which in TCM governs our deep energy reserves and fluids. This framework lets us get really specific with interventions.
All right, let's get specific then. Priority 1. Tackling that high systolic pressure, the liver yang rising. Your sources outlined a liver cooling protocol. What does that involve?
It has 2 main pillars. Pillar 1 is about resetting the pressure quickly, internally, through acupressure. Specifically, the Tai Chong point. It's on the top of the foot in the depression between the bones leading to the big toe and the second toe.
Okay, top of the foot between the first 2 toe bones.
You find that tender spot. Pressing it firmly for about 30 seconds daily is believed to help descend that rising liver yang, kind of like an internal release valve. It's considered a primary point for cooling that internal heat.
Interesting. And you pair that with breath work.
Absolutely. Pairing it with ocean breathing. This is a specific technique. Breathing through the nose for a count of 4, gently hold the breath for 4, and then breathe out slowly through the mouth or nose for a count of 6.
In 4, hold 4, out 6.
Right. That longer exhale is key. It stimulates the vagus nerve and activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest system. It acts like a natural break.
And this actually lowers blood pressure.
Yes, studies mentioned in the sources suggest this kind of breathing can lower SBP by a noticeable 10 to 15 points, sometimes even within minutes. It's a powerful, immediate tool.
Wow, okay. Acupressure and breathwork.
Yeah.
What about the diet piece for cooling liver yang?
Again, it needs to be targeted, not just general healthy eating. We want specific foods known for cooling properties and vasodilation, helping relax blood vessels.
Like what?
Start the day with celery juice, perhaps mixed with some cucumber juice. Celery contains compounds called phthalates, which are known to relax the smooth muscles in artery walls.
Okay, celery juice.
Throughout the day, focus on foods TCM considers cooling and beneficial for hypertension. Things like mung beans, winter melon, lotus root. Some research suggests compounds in these foods act a bit like natural ACE inhibitors.
And for the evening, there was a specific tea mentioned quite a bit.
Yes. Hibiscus tea. This is a real standout for SBP management.
Why hibiscus?
Well, clinical trials have shown it can significantly lower systolic blood pressure, often by around 7 to 13 points on average, over about 6 weeks of regular consumption. And importantly, it seems to target SBP more specifically than DBP.
So it's particularly good for that high systolic pattern.
Exactly. It's a really valuable tool in the liver cooling toolkit.
Okay, that's a solid plan for high SBP. Now let's flip to the other side. That low diastolic pressure issue, which you said often affects seniors on medication. The heart-nourishing protocol.
Right. If the diastolic is too low, the focus shifts to strengthening and nourishing the heart system in the TCM sense, supporting the muscle function itself.
How do you nourish the heart?
Diet is key here. Focus on foods rich in CoQ10. Coenzyme Q10 is crucial for cellular energy production, especially in the heart muscle.
Where do you find CoQ10?
Oily fish like sardines are great, organ meats if you eat them. And interestingly, sprouted broccoli seeds are also a source. Basically, foods that support mitochondrial function and energy for the heart muscle.
Okay, CoQ10 rich foods. Is there an acupressure point for this too?
Yes, the Shenmen point. It means spirit jade. You find it on the wrist crease, on the pinky finger side. There's a little hollow there.
Wrist crease, pinky side. Got it.
Gently stimulating Shenmen is believed to calm the spirit, but also support the overall function and energy of the heart system, helping it maintain adequate pressure during the resting phase.
Makes sense. Now, what about that rare case elevated diastolic in a senior?
If the DBP is high, especially on its own, TCM often looks towards the kidney system for underlying imbalances. The strategy shifts to kidney support.
And how do you support the kidneys in this context?
Dietarily, focus on traditionally kidney-supportive foods, often dark-colored ones. Black beans, black sesame seeds, black fungus, woodier mushrooms.
Black foods for kidneys. Interesting.
And there's a simple movement technique, kidney tapping. Gently making fists and tapping the lower back area on either side of the spine where the kidneys are located. It's thought to stimulate kidney key and function.
Okay. But what about the most common scenario for many listeners? That complex pattern, high SBP and maybe low DBP, high squeeze, low rest, wide pulse pressure. They need cooling and nourishing.
Exactly. That requires a more balancing approach. We call it the balance restoration protocol. You need something that regulates without pushing too hard in one direction.
What works for that?
Gentle Tai Chi is ideal. Even just 15 minutes a day of slow flowing movements. It's fantastic for improving circulation, reducing arterial stiffness gently, calming the nervous system, and regulating both numbers without being overly stimulating or sedating.
Tai Chi for overall balance. Good. And there was one more advanced technique mentioned.
Yes, for really harmonizing the system, there's the 2-point reset. This involves lightly pressing 2 points simultaneously. Yin Tong, which is right between the eyebrows.
The third eye point.
And Bai Hui, which is right at the top center of the head. Imagine lines going up from the ears where they meet at the top.
Okay, Yin Tong and Bai Hui together. What does that do?
In TCM theory, Yin Tong helps calm and descend energy, while Bai Hui regulates the overall flow throughout the body. Pressing them together is thought to help balance those ascending, like high SBP, and descending, related to DBP and rest energies, promoting overall equilibrium.
Fascinating. One last piece of wisdom from the sources was about adjusting for seasons. How does that fit in?
It fits perfectly because blood pressure isn't static, it naturally fluctuates. It often tends to be higher in the winter.
Right. Cold weather constricts vessels.
Exactly. So in winter, TCM suggests using warming, circulation-boosting spices like cinnamon or cardamom. They can help maintain vessel flexibility.
And some.
In summer, when heat can aggravate that liver-yang rising pattern, emphasize cooling foods and herbs like chrysanthemum tea or mint to help counterbalance the environmental heat. It's about working with the body's natural responses.
This is all incredibly actionable. But let's manage expectations. Someone starts this today, the breathing, the tea, the acupressure. How quickly might they see changes? It's not magic, right?
Definitely not magic. Undoing years of arterial changes takes time. However, some initial improvements, especially from things like the ocean breathing or dietary shifts like adding hibiscus tea, might be noticeable within, say, 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe feeling calmer, maybe seeing small dips in readings.
But for real, lasting change.
For significant, stable improvements where you're really helping the cardiovascular system adapt and become more resilient, you need consistency. We're likely looking at 8 to 12 weeks of dedicated practice with these protocols to see more profound, lasting shifts. Persistence is absolutely key. So let's bring it all home. The crucial takeaway for you, especially if you're over 60, is this. Systolic pressure, that top number, becomes the main adversary. That's your primary focus.
Okay.
Don't ignore the overall picture. That pulse pressure, the gap between the numbers, tells a vital story about arterial stiffness. Wider gap, stiffer arteries, higher risk.
Got it. SBP first, but watch the PP gap.
Exactly. The goal isn't just lower numbers, it's about restoring balance and vitality, understanding your specific pattern.
So what does this all mean for you listening? It means you likely have more targeted control than you thought. We've covered specific risk thresholds like SBP over 140 or pulse pressure over 60 or 70, and we've paired that with really specific actionable steps. The Tai Chong point for high SBP, Shenmen for low DBP support, ocean breathing, hibiscus tea, specific foods. It's a roadmap.
A personalized roadmap, potentially.
Yeah. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Traditional wisdom often suggests the body inherently seeks balance and wants to be healthy even as we age. Given everything we've discussed today, what's one small specific step you could commit to starting today?
Just one thing.
Maybe it's 5 minutes of ocean breathing. Maybe it's switching your evening drink to hibiscus tea. Or maybe it's finding that Tai Chong point on your foot tonight. What's one step you can take to begin retraining your cardiovascular system towards resilience?
Choose one and be consistent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, we have to include our mandatory disclaimer. Please always consult with your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your medication, treatment plan, or lifestyle, particularly if you have existing health conditions or are taking multiple medications. This information is for educational purposes only.